Oklahoma is largely a rural state. We have increasing population in our urban centers, but they are few. For the most part, our students are going to be served in one of 523 school districts across Oklahoma, and most of those are rural. We have leadership that recognizes that each one of those students deserves a path to success.
Educating students in rural settings is an important part of public education in America. More than half of all school districts and a third of all public schools are in rural areas. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, over 12 million students attend a rural public elementary or secondary school, accounting for 25% of all public school students. Unrecognized by most Americans and often overshadowed by the nation's attention to dropout challenges in urban settings, more than 1/5 of public schools in rural America have higher than average dropout rates. Because of their remote locations and more limited resources, schools in rural communities often have less access to high-quality technical assistance than schools in other communities. For this reason, the U.S. Department of Education's High School Graduation Initiative program provided dropout prevention support and technical assistance to grantees and districts across the country. This video highlights dropout prevention efforts in rural districts and schools in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's dropout prevention strategy is alternative education academies. It mandates that each school district across the state have an academy or a plan to educate their most at-risk students. Part of my job is dropout prevention education, technical assistance, plus oversight of those alternative education academies to ensure that they are following the law. That law is 17 components that go above and beyond what a traditional student gets. So it's a low student to teacher ratio conducive to at-risk learning, counseling, life skills, arts education, just having faculty that is appropriate for working with at-risk students. Those components we have found to be very vital to an alternative education academy, and so those are the kinds of things that I look to oversee.
Well, I think one of the unique things about teaching alternative school, especially here at the academy, is that normal seems to fall by the wayside. Each day may bring something a little bit different, so you have to come into this atmosphere with a perception that each student is going to require a different bit of attention and a little bit more of your personal attention, and to really achieve that goal.
And for a lot of them that I see here, this kind of is their last hope. It's like some of them have been, you know, discouraged or beaten down so much that they kind of come in here just kind of dragging in. And what we want to do is really lift their spirit and show them that they are important and there are people that care about them, that they're not just thrown to the side and, you know, already forgotten about, that there are people that really care about them. And that's one of the things that I really like about being here.
I was a freshman in Comanche, and I got my first job, and I had to start making my own money, start buying my own things. Had to start paying for car payment and everything. And so slowly into my ending of the freshman year and beginning of sophomore year, I started sitting in class and just thinking, well, I'm sitting here in class not making money, and this doesn't help me here. And I was like, well, I'm just not going to come to school, I'm just going to go to work, and that's what I did.
Brett, what an amazing child he is. How lucky I am to have met Brett. To get him interested, we just felt like he was part of us, and we talked to him, and when he has a problem, I work to help, and the teachers do too.
Brett is just one of those young men that when you meet him, you just know that he's just a great young man with a great heart. I think he's been through a lot. He's had to do a lot on his own. And it's those situations where you meet those students and it just kind of breaks your heart because of the situations and because of the life maybe they've had and what they've been through and what they've kind of overcome, and yet still somehow just has a smile on their face and still stay upbeat.
I'm a really quiet person. Like in the regular schools, I didn't talk to anybody. I never talked to any of the teachers or anything. I was just the kid who listened to really loud music that wouldn't talk to anybody. And so when I get to come here and I have kids who want to talk to me about personal problems they have and they want advice and I can actually help somebody, and it does make me feel really good about it. Because without fame, I know I would not have gone back to school. I wouldn't have. I wasn't going to waste the time to go back to regular school because it's just, I don't fit in very well with other people because I don't like bigger classrooms, and there's always like the class kind of thing. There's people who are higher class and there's people who are lower class.
If that means food, if that means clothing, if that means money for gas, we will figure out a way, because if he or anybody else were to say, I don't have money and gas to get there, the teachers, we will get it, and they will have a way to get here and get gas.
Like at Comanche in a regular class, we'd have 30 plus kids, full classroom, one teacher. And one teacher can only try so hard to get one-on-one with all our students. And I would always feel like I'd burden my teachers by asking for help, so I wouldn't say anything. I'd let her get everyone else first. And when I do that, obviously class would be over or something. I wouldn't get the help I need, so I would just forget about what I was doing, wouldn't do it. And here at FAME, I've been in classrooms, and there's probably the most I've had in a class is probably 12 students. And it's so much easier because if I ever had a problem with something, I could just go talk to Mr. Hawkins about it and ask him, like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And he would explain it to me. We'd just look it up and we'd find it out together. I want to be a chef. I want to go to culinary school after high school and everything. And they're really helping me look to see where the best culinary school would be to go to, what would be the best place to take my basics at. And Miss Russell, she's really helpful about it all, because she wants me to go through it. She wants me to do it and finish it and do what I want to do in life.
If myself or the school or whatever can play a little bit of part of him being successful and getting to that place to where one day he can look back and maybe help other students whenever he maybe has a restaurant one day, or he can help, other people who aren't as successful, or young students who want to do the same thing that he can do. I think he would be the type to do it.
I'm just a kid who dropped out. He's trying to come back to finish it off, get it done with, and go take my basics and go do culinary school.
The law allows for school districts to have a lot of control over the type of program they have. It allows the district the flexibility and the independence to look at their student population from year to year and develop an appropriate program. They still have the same criteria and expectations for graduation, but those have to have an individualized graduation plan for each student, and the instruction has to be individualized. And so within a classroom or an academy, you could see blended learning, you could see online learning, direct instruction, but it really has to be geared towards each individual student that is sitting in that classroom.
I wasn't very good at just the homeschool setting. When I was in Cashin, I was having a really hard time learning at the pace of the other kids. It's kind of like a roller coaster. I would get it at some minutes, and then other minutes I'd be like, oh, okay, this is not cool.
You know, when Autumn started with us, she was actually in a training program and doing very well. But she was kind of falling apart at her home school, and so she was referred to me.
I felt slower than all the other kids. I wasn't getting it, and that was a real challenge for me. And so coming here was actually, it was kind of like a relief, like, okay, I'm really not as bad as I thought it was. So that was actually a relief for me.
She was a young person, I think, that lacked a little bit of self-esteem. And because we do things so individualized and so personalized here in Project Hope, she felt some success in her academics. And it didn't come just right off the bat. It came through, working very, very diligently with her.
I didn't think that I was going to make it through. And when I came here, they reassured me. They were like, Autumn, you're going to do this. And I know you can. So I was like, okay, maybe I can.
Autumn kind of reminds me of myself because she wants this, and the fact that she wanted to better herself at 20 years old, to have the courage. It takes a lot of courage to go back and get, her GED, or to build, a career. I was 21, and I know exactly how that feels when you, I wish I'd have done this, and what I'm going to do with my future. Well, she's building a future. She's making things happen for herself that hasn't happened in her traditional past. She's creating a new cycle in her family tree.
When I came here, the teachers were always standing next to me and always tutoring me into what I wanted to learn or into what I needed to learn. So it was just easier for me to get it.
Well, the number one in Project Hope is relationship. That will always be the number one thing. But I will put our curriculum up against anything that they do at the sending high schools. It meets all past skills and Common Core standards. The kids complain that it is very rigorous, and it is. We're not going to let them do something easier. We're just going to let them do it in a different way. We have a directive that we're trying to take our curriculum into a more blended format. And if you want to talk about relevance, everything that these kids are doing in Project Hope is going to shine through in their career training program. That's about as relevant as you can get.
The way they teach is they don't look at you just as a student. They look at you as a partner in learning. And so whatever you're learning, they might be learning also. So it's kind of easier, you're kind of teaching each other. You have a lot of time to actually be like, okay, well, I really don't get this, so I'm going to have to kind of slow down and actually make sure that I get this before I move on. They have the ability to say, okay, well, I know this is not your strong point, so let's focus on this first, and we can get through this, and then we can move on. And you have a little bit more time to get that subject rather than moving on with the rest of the class.
Success breeds more success. So she was having success in her career training program, and now she was seeing that success in her academics. She has blossomed. She has come full circle, and I think she's ready to take on the world.
So I've done it. I can say I'm one of the few that has actually been able to do it.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. How does it feel?
It's awesome. It's reassuring because I know if I can do it, there's other people out there that can do it.
Our career technology centers in Oklahoma are scattered throughout the state, and truly it is the awareness that we have programs for gaining certification, having another pathway to success, and the partnership with career technology centers, 29 of them throughout the state, which are partnered with feeding districts into those centers, is really part of the success and opportunity that we can provide for students in alternative education.
Well, I moved here when I was 11, and I lived here for 2 years, and then we moved back to Wisconsin, where we were originally from, and because my mom was going to take care of her mom and dad. But then her mom passed away in October of 2010, and then her dad passed away in December of 2010. So we moved back to El Reno, and that following April, my brother passed away. So then we stayed. I have a nephew that I've taken care of since he was born, and he now lives with me. And so he is my little mini me that runs around. And I came to the El Reno Academy when I was in 10th grade because at the high school I was using my diabetes to get out of class and not do my work, and I ended up failing. So I had to come over here to get my grades up and get the credits that I needed.
Rachel was struggling in school because she was diabetic and insulin dependent, and she was also using it as an excuse sometimes. My sugar's high, I can't go to school.
Rachel started out with us going gangbusters, and then we had a little playing of the system, you know, in the way of using some of her diabetes as a diversion to not stay up with the rigor.
I actually didn't take care of my diabetes as I should, and they actually pushed me to take care of it and actually help others take care of their diabetes and their medical needs that they have to face.
The principal and counselor across the street said, "You need to meet this girl." And I met her and listened to her. I told her, "Rachel, it's personal to me. My mom and dad both died from diabetes. You don't have to. You do not have to eat yourself to death." And so it became personal. And when she saw the personal side of that, and we went straight up with each other, and she knew the life, you know, that I watched my parents go through, even though they were adult onset diabetics. But once she sat and we talked a lot, we were together.
One aspect of Rachel that I really saw from the beginning that I want to embark on was her confidence. Be confident, be confident. Don't allow yourself to ever second guess or doubt your abilities. And I think some of that may stem from medical issues. Some of it may stem from other variables that I know nothing about. But just seeing her demeanor some days, it would seem that way. Very kind of quiet and standoffish.
But she's so intelligent, you know, she's so good at all this, and so she kind of fell in the cracks for a little bit, and we had to reel her back in.
You can go to those teachers and they actually understand where you're coming from in the situation and know what you know and what you don't know, help you in the areas that you struggle. I am planning to be a special education teacher, and I got there by actually volunteering through the academy and helping with their program at the high school for the special needs. I started helping with special needs in 5th grade when we had the choice between reading time and helping in the special needs room, and I didn't like reading time, so I helped in the special needs room, and now I actually help the special needs kids read and do their math and just teach them the basics that they need to know.
I've just watched her grow the last 2 or 3 years and be successful in many areas of her life, learning to take care of her diabetes, improving in English, her other classes, and moving on to reach her goals and dreams of helping special needs students.
She has a type of diabetes that she was basically born with. I mean, it's not a fault of hers. It wasn't because she drank too much pop or ate too much candy. It's just something that she's had for a lot of years, but she's learned how to work with it. So it's going to be a great ending, years and years down the road.
they will be successful here. I tell the students all the time, once you're here, you're one of ours. You're one of mine. That's it. You're going to finish and graduate. So we have to find a way for them to be successful. So we have to get the curriculum to fit the student. Well, I know it's improved Comanche's graduation rate, and I know it's improved all of our schools, Walters and Temple. At different times, one time we had a third of Walters' senior graduating class. We had a fourth of Comanche's graduating class one year. That's a lot that you help. I do know that we have a lot of students here. If it was not for FAME, they would not be in school. They would be dropouts. And dropouts cost everybody. I know it costs a lot of money to run a school and to run an alternative school. I know it does, because it's small and you have to have teachers and you don't have as many kids fit in as a regular high school, but we are going to pay the price. It also costs a lot of money to pay for someone's incarceration. And I would rather put the money into education now than to have to pay later, because that's what's going to happen. We don't want dropouts. I think everyone realizes that it's much more profitable for your state to have people who are high school graduates who are working than people who are not. And I think our alternative schools in the state of Oklahoma do a fabulous job and have really helped the dropout rate.
I think we have a genuine, not only concern, but consensus of what it is that they're coming from.
I remember when I interviewed here, I asked the superintendent, it's not typically a career tech's mission to work with kids who are at risk of dropping out of schools. Why is Frances Tuttle doing this? And she looked at me straight in the eye and she said, because it's the right thing to do for kids. And that's what Frances Tuttle does. They try to touch every single student that walks in the doors on this campus.
So I wear my cap and gown from when I got my master's, and I take a picture with every one of my seniors. Sometimes when we get a student that may be going to quit us, I put a cap and gown on them and take their picture with me early, just so they can see this picture. Everybody can graduate from high school. All you got to do is just do what I tell you to do. Come to school. Attendance is important. The most rigorous part of your day may have been just getting out of bed and getting here. Do I need to come get you? I text about 5 or 6 kids every day. Make sure you're awake. Take a picture of the sunrise. And so I need them at school. If you'll come to school, we can educate you. You got to be willing to learn.
For me, I think the next step is really greater awareness of the needs of students, how we can be more creative in designing a path for those students who are truly at risk of dropping out. We want to provide the supports they need, whether that is a program like AVID, whether that is flexibility that is given to a district for an alternative education program. But ultimately, I think we have to have innovation, creativity in our rural school districts as well as in our urban districts to meet those needs differently and provide the kind of support to achieve what we want and hope for each child.